From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Rain, hail, and lightning as thunderstorms slam the state. We've got team coverage on the Valley's first monsoon storms.
And a Phoenix library drenched by the rainstorm when regulars can expect to get back to the books.
Plus, we meet a local storm chaser who gets up close and personal with these storms.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Blakely McHugh.
And I'm Tyler Finger. Thank you for joining us. The first monsoon storms of the season swept through the valley this weekend, leaving flooding, power outages, and other damage in its wake. And the National Weather Service says it's not done yet. We have team coverage on this weather system and how it's affecting the community. But we begin tonight with a look at the damage left behind. Patricio Espinoza has been following the storm's aftermath and shows us how neighbors are helping neighbors.
Heavy rain flooded streets and power outages, left trees down and cleaning crews working full-time today.
When the tree hit the line, it just snapped in the pole, and I wasn't aware where it was snapped. That's why it wasn't snapped there, and it happened to snap in the middle.
Daryl Brosha noticed last night his 70-year-old pine tree cracked almost in half, taking down power lines. All he could do was think about his neighbors.
When it was down in the grass, in the water, it was live. And being live electricity would have killed somebody.
We came home and found that the tree had fallen onto our porch and our backyard and the power line. Me and the kids ran inside, didn't think anything of it. My husband went around the back just to make sure his tools and the animals were okay.
SRP contracted crews were cleaning up today, but power here was still out. The company says at the height of the storm, 23,000 customers lost power at some point.
We have 27 tree crews that can respond at a moment's notice in the event of an emergency.
Amber and her family were told it may take days before power is restored to their home. She, her husband, and 2 kids are moving to a hotel. More storms expected tonight and through this week. The National Weather Service has issued storm warnings for the area and asked residents to be prepared. In Mesa, Patricio Espinoza, Cronkite News.
APS reports 18,500 customers lost power at some point during last night's storm, but when we checked a little bit ago, those outages were down to just a few dozen.
The Burton Bar Central Library is closed after Saturday's storm took part of the roof off. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein joins us at the library with the latest on the damage. Holly?
Saturday night's storm damaged the roof and broke a sprinkler water line. Now that water has been sprinkling and trickling down through all 5 floors.
I usually come like every week practically.
Frank Varela is a regular visitor at Burton Bar Central Library who says a temporary closure due to this weekend's monsoon storm will affect his routine. While there are 16 other libraries in Phoenix, Varela says he only visits Burton Bar.
Because I live in the central area, so I'm a lot closer to this one.
Today, the Phoenix Fire Department and library staff held a news conference to talk about the damage to the collection. According to Community Relations Manager for Phoenix Public Library, Lee Franklin, the northwest quadrant of the 5th floor had a lot of book damage.
A lot of those floors that house our collection, those books were not affected. So right now what we're discovering is that we actually have a larger portion of our collection that was not affected versus the portion that was.
Fire crews are working to preserve the valuable books and artifacts in the building, including those in the rare book room. But library staff says the primary goal is to get services restored for the community.
Hoping to get up and soon fast.
Director, some of the staff. Now, there's no word yet on when the building will reopen, but according to the city's communication director, some of the staff will be temporarily located to other libraries around the city. In downtown Phoenix, Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
The storms brought flash flooding to Tonto National Forest in Payson Saturday, which swept away members of an extended family at a swimming hole. Gila County officials continue to search for a 27-year-old man who is still missing, but have identified 9 victims, including 5 children. About 40 volunteer search and rescue workers and 4 search dogs are out looking right now. Authorities say the torrent of water came suddenly from a rainstorm upstream. Cell service providers sent storm warnings that day, but some say the victims may not have had cell reception in the area.
For morning commuters, traffic lights across the valley were flashing red as a result of power outages from the weekend storm. Reporter Annika Walters is live in downtown Phoenix with tips on navigating the streets safely when that happens.
Here at First Street and Taylor, you can see the traffic light behind me is working, but there are some areas of the valley that were having traffic trouble. This is what thousands of drivers encountered this morning, flashing red lights instead of the usual red, yellow, and green due to the storm. Phoenix police says drivers should treat flashing red lights as if they are stop signs, then yield to waiting vehicles on the right. After a complete stop, drivers can proceed. Police officers are on hand directing traffic, but only at some intersections. Phoenix police says if drivers are obeying the law and there's no other obvious need, you won't see an officer there. Now, all of those lights should be back up and running, but be sure to treat those flashing lights as a four-way stop if you see them. In downtown Phoenix, Annika Walters, Cronkite News.
As people clean up the damage from this weekend's storm, could more extreme weather be on the way? Emily Bloom tells us what to expect for the rest of this evening.
We are looking at a 20 to 30% chance for some of that monsoon weather this afternoon and this evening. We're about to hear why some are skeptical that this will actually develop following all the activity that we saw yesterday. But first, let's talk about these temperatures. We are currently looking at a high of 98 degrees, excuse me. It has been a while since we have dropped below that triple-digit mark. Our humidity is sitting at right about 34%. We are below our average on this day of 106 degrees. And across the state, we are looking at 106 in Lake Havasu, 71 at the Grand Canyon, and 76 down in Tucson. We'll talk more about those monsoon chances for the rest of the week in just a few minutes. But first, I spoke to a local meteorologist this morning. He took advantage of all Mother Nature had to offer over the weekend, but last night it really paid off.
When you're out chasing, there's always going to be highs and lows.
And Brian Snyder would know. He has been chasing storms here in Phoenix for years.
I'd say the low yesterday was driving down to Marana, and watching what looked like a really pretty storm, dissipate as soon as I got there.
But despite that,
when I came home last night, I knew I had caught something special.
He was able to reposition and caught a microburst right outside of Coolidge.
To me, seeing that storm, hearing that storm, and seeing how long it lasted, I think was definitely the high point of the night.
And most importantly, Snyder's guess for the predicted monsoon weather tonight?
I'm not so sure about today.
He says typically after a big weather event like last night, it can take the atmosphere some time to recharge, so to speak. However,
sometimes the monsoon will just throw you a curveball, and when you think you're inside watching a movie, next thing you know, a big storm pops up over your house, and you grab your bags and you're out the door again.
And as for the week ahead,
it seems like it's just gonna hang out here for a while, so that's a good thing.
Snyder says the success he found last night reignited the fire within him, reminding him why he does this.
Well, with his optimism for the storms in the week ahead, we certainly look forward to what else he may capture. In Phoenix, I'm Emily Bloom for Cronkite News.
Schools nationwide work to fight bullying every single day.
And Arizona lawmakers are doing their part to keep kids safe. Coming up on Cronkite News, a new initiative that hopes to standardize bullying policies nationwide.
Plus, you drive on them, but are they really safe? We take a look at Arizona bridges.
I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Now all my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Right about now.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe it?
Senator John McCain is recovering at home here in Arizona after undergoing surgery to remove a blood clot on Friday. The Senate panel that he leads will continue with business as usual. The Armed Services Committee says Republican Senator James Inhofe from Oklahoma will act as chairman during McCain's absence.
With McCain in Arizona, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has delayed a vote on the GOP health care bill. Republicans worry that without McCain, they're short the amount of votes necessary to move ahead on the legislation. At this point, it's unsure when the vote will actually take place.
Bullying is an issue that many schools face nationwide, but one House bill is looking to simplify how states address bullying and harassment. Cronkite News reporter Noelle Lilly spoke with the families of Arizona children who have been bullied, as well as the legislators and organizations who are hoping to find solutions. Noelle?
The Safe Schools Improvement Act, or H.R. 1957, would regulate bullying procedures and policies in every school in every state, regardless of the school's public or private school status. Something that Arizona parents say right now is not the case.
If you see something, you say something. You stand up for people that can stand up for themselves in that moment. You don't just stay quiet and just let things happen.
H.R. 1957, also known as the Safe Schools Improvement Act, is an anti-bullying bill that would tighten the expectations for how school districts or local education agencies handle and prevent bullying or harassment. A bill that has drawn support from Arizona Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema, among others.
The Safe Schools Improvement Act is federal legislation that creates a national standard requiring school districts across the country to create policies and enforce them for bullying against children. In Arizona, we do have an anti-bullying statute on the books, but there are differences in enforcement and policies from school district to school district.
Those differences have sometimes led to bullying incidents, particularly at private schools.
They had no anti-bullying. In this day and age, that bullying is such a hot topic that you would think that they would have some kind of training in place for these kids.
Dominique Rivas is an Arizona mom whose daughter, Julia Rivas, made headlines in 2014 with reports that she was physically and emotionally bullied by other students at St. Agnes Catholic School in Phoenix. When Rivas and her family tried to address the problem with school administrators, they were instead pressured to leave St. Agnes. Rivas said that because St. Agnes is a private school, there was no outside help available to them. Rivas says that her daughter eventually transferred schools.
You have to stop and think the kids didn't know any better because they weren't taught any better. If they had some sort of programs in place in their school, maybe they would be more sympathetic and empathetic.
But nonprofit organizations like Stomp Out Bullying worry that the problem may persist even with new legislation if schools themselves don't step up to the plate.
Everyone talks about legislation. I look at them and I get glazed over because I'm thinking, it's not the legislation, it's the schools. The schools need to step up and protect their children.
But Sinema and other politicians believe that the bill could still make a difference.
The first step is education. And the second step is to create policies that protect all students and that provide guidance for staff and teachers to follow in protecting children.
A spokesman for the Diocese of Phoenix could not comment on the specifics of the St. Agnes case, but he did say that schools have policies, quote, to prevent bullying, to provide discipline, and to teach why good conduct is an expression of God's will. The Safe Schools Improvement Act was referred to the House Committee for Education and the Workforce, but has yet to have a hearing. Live in Washington, Noelle Lilly, Cronkite News.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can affect anyone.
But the recovery process often does not come easy. Coming up on Cronkite News, a psychotherapy treatment that helps victims see their trauma in a new, less disturbing light.
A look at your full 7-day forecast and just how long these slightly cooler temps will stick around, coming up.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from me.
Every day, bridges are crossed several million times in Arizona, but some of them may need repairs, and you may not even know it. The reason, they're considered structurally deficient. Chances are you've crossed one. Bridges are everywhere. From I-10 to the I-17. Every day in Arizona, our more than 8,000 bridges are crossed several million times.
We have a great deal of confidence in our bridges, but you always have to be cautious.
But just like everything else, bridges age. Nationwide, more than 56,000 of them are considered structurally deficient. In Arizona, there's more than 200. While that doesn't mean they're unsafe, they just need attention.
It's defined as a structural deficient. It means that it's probably in the plan in the near future to be remedied or to be modified, but it shouldn't stop people from using those structures.
This I-17 bridge, which crosses 19th Avenue, was the most traveled structurally deficient bridge in Arizona until May, when ADOT repaired it. The bridge, on average, gets crossed 123,000 times a day.
It had damaged girders from overheight vehicles striking underneath the bridge. The girders were damaged. Structurally deficient did not mean it was an unsafe bridge.
The technology they used to repair the bridge was a first for ADOT, using carbon fiber strips with a reinforcing polymer to fix the girders.
We're always looking for what is new out there in terms of what we can do. It is seen as more of the space age repair.
Arizona is doing better compared to other states. Arizona is ranked 48 out of 51 in terms of percent of structurally deficient bridges. And while that may sound low, that's actually good news, meaning there aren't a lot in the state.
And it seems to be clearing up outside after this weekend's rain, but how long could that last? Emily Bloom is in the Weather Center with a look at your 7-day forecast.
Yes, we've got that 98 here in Phoenix right now, and while that sounds so much cooler than what we've been experiencing the past couple weeks, it's still pretty warm. Across the rest of the state, we are looking at 70 at the Grand Canyon, 80 down in Tucson, and 73 in Show Low. Now here in the valley, we are all in those high 90s. We've got 93, 97 in Apache Junction, 93 in Cave Creek, 92 in Coolidge. As we head into the early morning hours tomorrow, we are going to drop down into those 80s, 75 in Superior, actually, if you can believe that. 80 in Coolidge, 82 in Whitman, and 85 in Levine. Now, taking a look at our satellite radar, this is over the next 12 hours, so that's from now until about 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. And while it is looking like we're going to have some of that precipitation, we're not sure if that's going to develop because of everything that we saw yesterday. Now take a look at this 7-day forecast. We have got a chance of precipitation each and every day all the way until next Monday, and we will not go above 105 degrees. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Emily Bloom.
Not many know about a psychotherapy treatment that uses eye movement to help combat post-traumatic stress disorder. I went to Scottsdale Recovery Center to learn more about it. Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone. 70% of adults have experienced some type of traumatic event in their life. Of those adults, 1 in 5 of them will develop PTSD, according to PTSD United. Lisa Moody, clinical director at Scottsdale Recovery Center, says that many people try to deal with their PTSD by negative coping.
And a lot of times we don't have that coping mechanism set up, so we start doing things that potentially could be destructive, like isolating ourselves, not seeking help, not talking to anybody. And self-medicating.
However, there are better ways to treat PTSD. One of those ways is through eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
EMDR uses eye movement in an awake state. So we use bilateral stimulation, which I'll show you with the machine, where the eyes are moving, so we simulate eye movement while people are awake.
Throughout the session, the patient hears beeping, much like a hearing test, and also feels vibrations through these devices called tactiles. The treatment allows the patient to see their traumatic event in a less disturbing way. After finding out her significant other passed away by suicide and losing contact with her family, Tracy Temple St. John knew she had to seek help.
After the traumatic incident, it got worse and progressively worse, and then where I hit rock bottom.
At the end of each session, the patient rates how disturbing their traumatic event was on a scale of 1 to 10. The goal is to get that patient down from a 10 to a 1. Once they've decreased the disturbance rate, the patient can then start installing positive beliefs about themselves with EMDR. Temple St. John believes she'll be in the program for a year with the hopes of getting back to her old self and connecting with her family again.
The happy-go-lucky, but your intellectual, be able to carry that conversation on again, and be able to spend time with my grandson.
After 2 sessions of EMDR, Temple St. John has started to have a new outlook.
I'm significant, I'm important enough to have invest in myself, and that's what this is doing, that this program is doing.
Anyone can use EMDR therapy, and treatment length can vary depending on the severity of the trauma. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has also claimed this as an effective means for helping veterans with PTSD.
The Arizona Coyotes have seen a lot of change in the last month. Coming up on Cronkite News, how a new president could mean a new arena is on the horizon.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone. Hey, would you believe me if I said we are here for a reason now? This is our life. This is what counts. This is for us. I will go anywhere for you.
The focus for the Coyotes lately? New beginnings. In just the last month, the team parted ways with its longest tenured player, its starting goaltender, the coach who took them on their deepest postseason run, and their franchise's president and CEO. Our reporter Kyle Wilcox has more.
For the last 2 years, the Coyotes have been searching for a new home in the Valley, but owner Anthony Barraway is confident the franchise's new leadership will finally bring that journey to an end.
New Arizona Coyotes president and CEO Steve Patterson understands that the quest for a new arena is never simple.
These deals are like vampire movies, right? It's got to go in the grave half a dozen times and come back out, hopefully 7 times.
In his 30-plus year career in sports, Patterson has an extensive history with sports facilities operations. While working in various leadership roles in Arizona State's athletic department, including as athletic director, Patterson launched the renovations currently underway at Sun Devil Stadium and is responsible for the 425-acre sports facilities district. He also managed the development of Houston's NRG Stadium while working as a chief development officer for the Houston Texans. Coyotes owner Andrew Barraway says a new arena for his team is a top priority.
We're going to get a new stadium here. It's just a question of when. Failure's not an option. It has to get done. By the way, I'd like it done quicker rather than later, but we have to get it done.
Earlier this year, a proposed deal with ASU to bring the Coyotes to Tempe fell apart. Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton has previously said he would like to see the team move to downtown Phoenix. There's also been speculation the team would leave Gila River Arena for a new venue in Mesa near Sloan Park or a building near Salt River Fields at Talking Stick, adjacent to North Scottsdale.
We're willing to talk to anybody in the valley to make sure that we have a successful arena solution that provide stability for the franchises and the resources to support the hockey operation.
The Coyotes open their 21st season in Arizona on the road against the Anaheim Ducks on October 5th. In the broadcast center, Kyle Wilcox, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, will the program that gives young illegal immigrants temporary protection from deportation be struck down by the courts? And a new survey looks at the major reasons that people suffer from acute headaches.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, the healthcare battle on Capitol Hill heats up as the Congressional Budget Office is expected to release its analysis. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to our website, cronkitenews.azpbs.org.